So it is my pleasure and my honor to introduce Mr. Runako Gittens to the podium at this time.
Good morning, everybody. So, an active child is a healthy child. Now we're going to get into that. But firstly, let me give you all a background on myself. For starters, I'm a corrective exercise specialist, a performance enhancement specialist, a health and wellness specialist, a massage therapist. That's a large amount of information to have. Now I'm going to share a lot of that with you. So when we say an active child, what do we mean? What does the term being active mean to you? So this is going to be very interactive because I'm going to ask you all a lot of questions so we can hear what you all think. So for starters, what does becoming active mean to you? Anybody?
Your movements as fast as possible.
Movements as fast as possible, that's very true. Anyone else? No, there are no wrong answers here.
You asked this on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
And I thought social, like that people are socially active.
That's also true. So, but from a physical perspective, we are looking at being active is a bodily movement that is produced by contraction of skeletal muscles, and there's going to be substantial energy expenditure. Now, I need you all to pay attention to two things from that very wordy definition. We're going to be moving, and we're going to burn energy. Why is that important? Well, what we are going to do and what we're going to discuss is, for first, that movement is going to be an entire, but doesn't have to only be the entire body. Parts of the body can move, and there's going to be that energy that is going to be burned. For a child, we all know children have balls of energy, especially within that range of 2 years old and about 15 to 16 years old. Energy is going to be crazy. So how are we going to manage those things? How are we going to deal with those things and still reap the benefits of being active? So now we know what being active means. What are some examples of being active? Again, no wrong answers. By all means. Jumping up and down. Climbing. Running. Not sitting in a seat. And all of these things are correct. So we're going to look at things like exercise. Always the first and foremost of top ranked in when it comes to being active. We're also going to look at dancing. Now I'm choosing these particulars for a reason, because these are the things that you can do with a child. Walking is going to be another one of them. Playing with a pet. And doing chores. All of these things are things that we can do, that we as adults can do, and we can do with our children. Now, how many of us actively do these things with our children are questions that we need to start to ask ourselves. How many times are we going to say, well, okay, I am going to walk, I'm going to make a couple laps around the savannah, I'm going to go up and down the hill in the community. But then, when I am doing those things, where's the child? You're telling the child, stay home. No, you don't do this. Or you shouldn't do this. Or you can't do this. Or it's too slow. Or I can't keep up with you yet. All of the excuses that we make to keep the child from being active. You're cutting that child from the legs. You're not giving that child the benefits that comes with being active. So now what do? If we start to encourage our children or carry our children with us, let our children see us being active. These are habits that will be made. Our children are seeing the benefits of it now, so we are saying that, okay, we could see the benefits in it for ourselves. So if it's good for me, isn't it good for my child? All right. So we'd have seen what being active is. We know examples of it. Now let's bring us to the next question. So all of these examples that we see, let's talk about benefits. What are the benefits of being active? So for starters, better motor function. Now we are talking about children who would suffer from disabilities, and how they move are going to be important. The more active you are, the better your movements will be. It's going to be, you're going to see improvements in those things. Why are you not? There we go. You're going to see better movements and better improvements in your balance, in your coordination, in your agility. So again, how you walk, the ability to move up and down, how quickly you do things, all of these things are going to play an important role. And now when you are active, you're going to see improvements in these things. That improvement in immune system, that is a very important role as well. So again, we are seeing these things for ourselves. You're not going to get sick as much. Your body is going, when you do get sick, your body is going to now be able to fight off those diseases. Diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, these things are now you're at a lower risk for those things because you're more active. You become a lot fitter. Energy management. Now, this is the important part that we were discussing earlier. I'm sure many of us with children would have said a term, I don't know where this child is getting this energy from, or something to that effect. I don't have children, but my cousin, she does, and she has a 2-year-old, and that boy will run non-stop. If you give him the space, he will just go up and down. And as I tell her, his energy is unlimited. He is a ball of energy. Feed him and he is going to run. Your energy is limited. You have work, you have all the stresses and responsibilities of being an adult. Children don't have that. All they know is play. Energy. So what am I going to do with all of that? How am I going to manage all of those things? Being active, you tend to burn that out. So I'll give an example of what I used to do, or what I still do actually with my little cousin. I take him to the recreational park, take a tennis ball and a football. Him and his 7-year-old sister. I stand in the shade. I stay in the shade. Just putting that out there. And we have a little game. I toss the ball. Whoever catches the ball first, that's 5 points. Whoever gets back to me first is an additional 5 points. And then I kick the football, catch it, 5 points. Bring it back, 5 points. Do that for a couple hours. They're tired. Give them some water. We laugh, we talk. Put them back in the sun. I stay in the shade. Emphasizing that. In the shade. By 7, they're going to eat, take a bath, and they're out like a light. My cousin, she looks at me, she's like, how did you do that? I've been doing this for some time. That doesn't happen. But yet when they're playing with you, when they go with you, they're like that, they're tired. So well, I may not have children, but I do know how to deal with a hyperactive person. Because I am a hyperactive person. So I know how to deal with me. And I know that if I'm in the sun too long, as with most of us as adults, put her in the sun too long, what happens? You're tired. That sun drains your energy. So it'll do that to them too. It works. So, again, just make sure you have water. You stay in the shade. Because we need to conserve our energy, but we need to manage theirs. So another benefit of it is that weight loss and weight management. As we would know, in Trinidad and Tobago, obesity is on the rise, especially in children. We'd have gone through a pandemic where we were sitting for 2 years. Nothing to do for 2 years. We were device oriented, more so now. So what do we do? And again, if we look back to when we were children, let me speak for myself. I'm 35 years old. When I was a child, 2 things would have happened after school. I got home, literally stripped, and I was out the door. So by 7, my mother would be screaming at the top of her lungs, Runako Gittens, get inside. I have 3 brothers. So I got home first. When the other 3 got home, she called from the eldest straight down the line. Go back to when my parents were children, their level of activity was significantly more than ours, because from getting from point A to point B, they would have had to walk more, because the availability of transport wasn't as it is now, or even as it was when I was a child. So apart from playing around, they walked significantly further distances than I did. So we see in that level of activity now. So looking at children throughout the different generations, when it comes to weight management, it was different. So it's something we need to pay attention to. So when do we start?
No.
There's no right or wrong time to start. If you want to start now, by all means, start now. But the earlier you start, especially with children, the better. So now we're going to talk about something I like to say, the power of play. When you let your children play, you find out what they naturally are adapted to, what they naturally move towards. So, case in point, you never know, you may be sitting on the next Michael Phelps. We don't know, because you're not giving a child an opportunity to do so. But if you given that opportunity by being active, by playing around, you get to see what happens. So remember that 2 to 16-year-old, that is the ample time. Get them in those habits of seeing you active, being active with you. And again, things that I do with my little cousin and, well, his sister. Every Sunday morning I wake up early and I go do a 2-mile hike, a Bamboo Cathedral, then we hit the beach, and again, get them back home. I, as usual with my spot, in the shade. But again, I know it's going to burn their energy out. It's going to be active for them. Little did we know, my little cousin, she likes to run around, so she likes track and field, and she starts training for it at 7. But we would not have found that out if we didn't give her the opportunity to play around, to be a child. And those things comes with being a children. That is the things that we do as children. It's now for us to let them do it. All right. So again, we see the start when we can, when we have that opportunity to. Earlier, the better. Which brings us to let these things start at home. Are you all going to sit now and wait until you meet someone with my qualifications who would have the understanding that everyone should be included? Or are we going to sit and wait until we find a football team that allows for someone with mobility issues or someone who may be suffering from Down syndrome? Are we going to allow that, or are we going to sit and wait for that to happen? Or are we going to start it at home? Inclusion begins at home. If you don't start it at home, then again, you're setting your child up for failure. You're not giving your child an opportunity to see and do what they are naturally good at. And then finally, a family that is active together is a family that stays healthy together. The more active you are, the fitter you are. And the fitter you are, the more efficient your body is at doing what it naturally does. So again, when we look at the different systems that make our body, your immune system is going to be better. You're going to fight off diseases better. You're going to be better at it. So again, for all of those little issues that we see coming up and growing up, you tend to focus more. You tend to be better when it comes to concentrating. All of those little things are things that happen. Again, it kind of contradicts what we are accustomed to, being outside and playing so much, putting in the time. But everything works in tandem with each other. Once we start it and we get in the habits of it, you're building a foundation. So, are there any questions for me today?
I like the you say that the nutrient part, the nutrition to eat like foods and stuff they eat, but plenty like kids and them like sweet stuff and
yes.
and stuff. the best part, like, what do you think, like, what you think to, like, for them to eat and them things like that, because it's a weight loss and all that stuff. And it's got plenty of training that is very big. And it's because of the everybody say a child and they say, like, you have 12 boy. They say that next minute is like 7 or 8. And you look like 2. So I like to get a thing on that.
So a nice place to start, especially with children, it's to start small and increase. So one of the things I always like to encourage people is start with fruits. So we take out the sweet stuff that they like and you include fruits. Now, for fruits are sweet, especially. So I think we come into the end of the mango season. Have at it. Because what fruits are going to do, fruits are just going to fill you up pretty quickly as well. So you're going to get the feeling of being full. You're going to satisfy that sweet tooth that we like. And you're eating something healthy. So once we start them along those lines, again, it's about building the habit. So we start them eating fruits. We get them in the habit of eating more and more fruits. And we could slide in a little vegetables here and there. So we could, and as we slide in one, we start to pull back on the other. So we're sliding in the vegetables, we're pulling back on the excessively fried stuff. So the KFC Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're pulling back on it. We're giving them a little more vegetables. And we continue until we find a nice little balance. We find that sweet spot. Increase the activity levels. So you'll start to see that weight start to pull back a little bit, start to come down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all going to be, at the end of the day, diet first. It's always diet and exercise. So we need to maintain and start that diet and start eating properly. No, I'm not saying restrict the children. I will never say that, by all means. Yes, the occasional juice, soft drink here and there. But what I am saying is get them along the habits of when they think of something sweet, they would faster reach for a fruit, they would faster reach for a mango, a guava, pineapple, watermelon, along those lines, versus the, okay, y'all are going to have to help me out because I don't eat sweets here. Right. So we take away from those things. Ice cream. So we start to pull back from those things and they lean to more fruits. Now, that being said, if it's things like ice cream, you can make those at home. You can. So now, exactly, you're using the same set of fruits, but now we're taking away, you are controlling your sugars. You are controlling how sweet it is. So,
I have one more question.
By all
because just recently, like, somebody like find out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what's because many times, you know what is Crohn's disease?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
So with that, you have anything on that, like information on that? Because what I get from like the doctor, and the thing is like, is a insufficient like bowel stuff in your stomach that it off balance. That's with stuff that you eat. Because I do have research on it now because it's like the way basically in layman terms is like your hand moving, your foot moving, like it off balance, you know, like giving you a balance, like a, you know what I mean, like a balanced level of eat, like what you're supposed to eat. So you're supposed to like eat fruits and vegetables and things as you said. But same time to eat, you're supposed to stay away from the chicken and stuff and things, because many times I see when you go inside walking past KFC, they see plenty of children, a box of chicken, a box of this, all them so you have to stay away from the fries. So I would like to get your opinion on that.
So with each particular medical issue, you would have a different diet that goes with it, that would be beneficial for the person who is suffering from it or detrimental to the person. So case in point, if, along the diet, the dietary restrictions would be chicken, you're going to have to find an alternative source of protein. You may lean more towards seafood, towards fish. And even then, you're going to have to stay away from certain types of seafood because of the nutrient value in it. So for starters, some people may say, well, okay, I can eat any particular types of seafood, which is great. You'll get a nice source of protein from it. But some people who fall in that category may say, well, okay, I can't particularly eat shrimp or crab because it affects me differently. Now, one of the things that we also need to remember, nutrition as well as their level of activity is still going to be based on the person. It's going to be very, very individualized. So something that may work for you may not necessarily work for me. You can have the same particular issues, the same particular stomach issues or Crohn's disease or whatever the particular medical situation is. We can have the exact same thing. But what would work for me may not necessarily work for you from a dietary perspective, as well as a therapy perspective, as well as a being active. All of them is going to be different per person.
Just piggybacking on the fruits and the vegetables. When we have those children from a tender age, we have to try to insist that they use plenty fruits and vegetables, because that is the problem that gets through their lives when they get older. Because there are some children don't like vegetables at all. Why? Because they were not given the opportunity to taste and to say, okay, this one is better, I will try that one. And when they say don't want vegetables, we the parents give them the fries and other things that are not good for them. So at the end of it all, trouble down the line.
Which is true. We tend to build habits from that young age. Remember, at about 2 years, a child is a sponge. They're going to absorb everything. So according to what is placed in front of them and what they get in the habit of eating, that continues along the lines. And again, I can use myself as a perfect example. Growing up, my dad's side of the family is diabetic, so my mom looked very, very closely at what we ate. Also, being very hyperactive, I was one that never got much sweet stuff. So now, at 35 years old, looking back at it, I don't reach. So that's why I said I'm going to need help with the sweets, because I don't do it. And these were habits that were built when I was younger. And it goes with me throughout for life. I think we have a question in the back.
As you rightly said, training to be trained from small. Now, some people, they tell themselves, the children don't like this, so they don't give them it. I remember 2 instances. One, the neighbor told me that their child don't eat vegetables at all. So I said, okay. The child spent a few days by me. And one day I called her. I said, come and see something. And when I put the food for the child, the vegetables, cucumbers, whatever, and she's like, that she doesn't eat that. I said, shut up and look on. And she was shocked. I said, this is the same child who told me don't eat vegetables. But then the way I incorporated it to start with, she just liked it, she got accustomed to it, and she started eating vegetables. Another time I remember one child I gave them beets. And they refused to eat it. I said, okay. So I took the beets, wash it out nicely, mix it in a drink, and they drank and asked for more. So you see, it's how we do it sometimes. We'll just give them it like that, how we do it. Again, with the chicken, if you have to give them it, avoid the fries if possible. You can steam it or find other ways of doing it. All right? My question now also, I don't know how appropriate it may be, but do you think the diet of a mother, prenatal, can affect the child?
Yeah, yes it would, because at that point in time, that's when you are very, very most important to your child because of what passes from you to your child. So if you are healthy, you are passing on a lot of antibodies a lot to your child at that time, and you need to take care of yourself more at that point in time than ever. So I would recommend, yes, maintain a certain diet and exercise during that time of your life, and to see, as you rightfully said, how you prepare your vegetables, how you incorporate and how you present it to children, because children can be very, very funny eaters. So, and well, children are children. So.
All right. Well, you have one question from somebody who's online, and we would like to invite people online. They can just raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll field your questions here. From Dr. Sasha John Charles Baines. She asked, what games can we encourage our kids to play in small spaces or if they are immobile?
So let me tackle the small spaces first. One of the things that you can do in small spaces is modify the space to fit. Use what you can to modify the space. So case in point, with one of the people that I work with, I tend to make a little obstacle course for her daughter. Her daughter is on the obstacle course while I work with my client and do what we need to do. So her daughter gets the level of activities. There are going to be challenges. There are times when she just have a little space to run. There are times when she's going to have to climb some stuff, move around, crouch, whatever the case may be, however the obstacle course I design at the time. So you use the space that you have, but you can modify what is in the space. And that's where now, again, one of the things that I recognize and would realize with a lot of children is that children are very competitive when you put them in a little group, especially if they have siblings. And again, I can speak from personal experience. Me and my brothers, it is ridiculous even now. So you can use those things to your benefit if you know you have more than one child. And even if you don't have, if it's just one child and you are the parent, you can also be the competition. So you can use that competitive nature to your benefit. Games for those that would be immobile, I think the question was, Glenn? It was mobility?
Yeah, persons who are immobile.
Right. As Dr. Ward would have said, being in a wheelchair doesn't necessarily, or not having legs in this particular case, doesn't necessarily mean that you're immobile. You can, and being active, as we would have said before, uses the body, it's bodily movement. So again, things like catch, they can play games where they involve things that they are going to throw, catch, and move around as best as or to their ability. So whatever the movement is, and even if it means using a wheelchair and rolling a wheelchair back and forth, that is still going to be some level of activity, because we're going to get skeletal movement, and we are also going to get that energy expenditure which is what we need and which is what we want.
Okay, I have another one comment from Ms. Deborah Jack. She agreed with what was said about the diet and nutrition. She said the less visual that the vegetables are, is the less aware that the children would be that they are eating it, when we hide it from them. And then she asked the question about any other ways you can suggest making children more active than those who are predominantly less active. They don't want to do anything.
Well, in this case, that is a very ticklish question, because it's going to depend on the child. Now, you're saying that the child does not necessarily want to be active. So what are you going to do? And this is where using that social part of it is going to come into play. Because again, I would tell people one of the reasons I got into playing cricket and football was because my brother played cricket and football. Now, I love playing cricket and football, don't get me wrong, but my brother did it. And again, if in this case the child is an only child, cousins, friends, always use those things to help get that child active, especially if they have one or two active friends in that group or one or two active cousins in the group. So we're going to use those things to help get the child away from the devices or out of the house to play. And then we can use play because, again, especially if it's a younger child, children love to. So try to get that socialization part of it where we say, well, okay, you know what, how about we go have a play date with your cousins, or we're gonna just go to the botanical gardens and just have a picnic, and then we encourage that running around, or we go to the beach and we start off with something as simple as let's walk the full length and breadth of along the shore. So little things that we do, we can start small. So we always try to start small, especially in the cases where the children may not necessarily want to do it. So same thing that I would say for the diet part of it, start small and build on those foundations. Same thing for the exercise or the being active part of it. Start off small with something as simple as, okay, let's just go take a walk. Something that I worked with, I tried with a client of mine as well. I encouraged her to get a pet, get a dog. So she's like, her son wouldn't, for the life of her, would not go and do anything. I said, okay, get a dog. And then started training the dog. So you started to take the dog for walks. And then, you carry your son. And then more and more, you let your son go carry the dog for the walk. To the point where now, son is always, it became a habit where her son actively takes the dogs for a walk. Then she got another dog. Having a pet is very important.
Who the parents have to try to make yourself available. If you realize that they are not taking part in anything, you have to make yourself available. Like they go outside and throw some ball, granny, grandpa, and they run around the yard, and
Yeah.
Is it too much to, if the child doesn't want to take part in the activity? Okay.
No, if you're not raise your hand, wait for the mic because there are people online. So that's not dramatic.
My question is, okay, I have a very hyperactive son and he's a very picky eater. He would only want like snacks. It would have certain snacks that he wouldn't eat, but he loves like the gummy bears and the artificial stuff. And he would rather tea over food. In a situation like that, what would you recommend?
So I'm just making sure I get the information right. You said he would prefer tea over food, and he would like the snacks like gummy bears, so stuff that are leaning more to sweet stuff. Smoothies are going to be a friend because in this case he prefers to drink his nutrients versus eat them. And with smoothies, once you can get them to fall in the line of, okay, I'm not tasting the vegetables part of it, which a lot of children would screw their face towards, they'll drink it. So try with a little smoothie here and there.
It would have certain things that you would give him, and he would just be like, I don't like it. And once he say he don't like it and he push it away, he don't want it.
And again, in that case, how you prepare certain things are going to be an important role. For the hyperactive part of it, you're going to have to figure out ways to manage his energy. So he's going to need to be more active. He's also going to need to be mindful of those sweets because, again, he is hyperactive. So the more sugar you give him, sugar is gas in a car, you're going to go. So you're going to have to manage his sugar intake as well. So in case, and again, I can use myself and speak about myself, what my mom would have done was she gradually stopped me from those sweet snacks and started to get me more on the fruits and even then, it was certain fruits at certain times. So you're gonna have to be mindful of things like that, especially when he starts to get older, and that hyperactive part of him is gonna probably have issues and present issues where he has problems sleeping. Because even now, that is one of my issues. So I can't eat certain fruits at certain times. Case in point, I can't eat anything. I can't eat pineapple or bananas after a certain hour because I'm just going to be up, saying down, twiddling my thumbs. Pretty much, yes. I will be bouncing off the walls like a sugar rush. And funny enough, this morning, when we were coming here, the coffee part came, that conversation we were having this morning. And I can't do it because me on coffee is going to be me just hyper and bouncing off the walls. So what you've put into his system is what you're going to get out of it in this particular case, and you're going to need to be mindful of that. With respect to him and what he eats, you can really try these smoothies and see how he reacts to those, because with these smoothies, again, you control what fruits go into it and you control the sugar levels.
We have a question from Ella, who is online Zoom. All right, well, while we are waiting for Ella, we have a question from Anselm. And he asks that you, as a physiotherapist and as a trainer, would you ever consider training a person with a disability to actually participate in a bodybuilding competition, and what would be the challenges involved?
So, to start off, yes, I would. And the challenges that would be involved would be that person and their level of motivation, dedication, and what they want from it. Because truth be told, in a situation like that, it really doesn't matter person has disabilities or not. It's going to be whether or not that person has the drive to do it. So in this instance, yes, I would work with someone who has disabilities to be a bodybuilder, to be anything, to participate in any sport.
On the question about the nutrition thing as well, what I would suggest too is to read your labels on all the food, because we have a lot of false advertising, inverted commas, in that people put a lot of things on packaging that says it's healthy and it's organic and it's all sorts of different things. And when you really look at the back and you start to read the content, when they say vitamin C, and vitamin C is the last ingredient on the back, which means it is the least amount of stuff. So even like soft drinks where you see, or juices is a big false one, where you see juice packages and you say, okay, I'm giving my child juice. And when you look at it, the content of juice is like 2%. And the rest is sugar and water and flavorings. So it's very important to read things like that. And then what I would suggest for your son as well, is your son? How old is he? He's 4, right? So really and truly, you are in control. And he is developing habits. And, you have to take back control in a way. Because if you give in to his demands, then he's going to win. And also, there's so many recipes and different things online now. If you Google, like kids meals, healthy meals for kids, that's a good way too for you to get ideas. Because, food now is like, everybody's a foodie. And if you watch these videos and stuff, you could prepare lots of creative things in the kitchen that we don't really think about, like how to make a mac and cheese, how to, use your proteins and different things, like a chicken, and kind of hide it so that they like it, callaloo, all that kind of thing as well. And even making fruit popsicles. You freeze you could squeeze the fruit, the orange juice, and the different things, and make like suckers, what the children love, penny cool kind of things, but with healthy stuff in it, so they get to like it.
All right, we have one comment from Ella, who's online. Yeah. Oh, this is from Chanel James. She said she is really happy that the world is placing more emphasis on inclusion, especially when it comes to the classroom. She has learned so much by just listening to Dr. Ward's presentation. Her personal story really moved her. The way she dealt with her situation tells us that we do not have to be defined by what the world sees us as. We need to remove those barriers, and what you know, you can do. As an educator, she is learning to be more appreciative of people who may have a disability, and instead of putting up a barrier, learn from them. Dr. Ward, you are a perfect example to the world in inspiring yourself and others around you. Thank you.
Back to what, going back to what was said before, one thing I would encourage as well is that when you're making these snacks for the children, encourage them or involve them in the making of the snacks so that they will have, have an identity to it. I made this, I helped mommy make this, and that will also encourage them to use or utilize that snack.
What it will also do is get them in the habit of, okay, I want a snack, let me go make it.
Yes.
So it started off as something me and mom or me and dad would do together. But now I want a snack and mom and or dad not home, but I want a snack.
Yeah.
So I'll go make the snack because I learned how to make it. So now I'm not going to reach for those unhealthy stuff.
And sometimes we need to try to avoid buying some of these unhealthy stuff. So if they don't have them, they wouldn't want them.
All right.
And piggybacking on what my sister just said about reading the labels. Trust me.
Another big one is soft drinks. Don't keep soft drinks like all the Coke and the Jolitas and stuff. That is just like sugar high,
Yes, reading those labels are very, very important. Because I have a 10-year-old granddaughter, she's 10 now. And there are some things that she's not supposed to use. But she's so smart. She's reading the labels. But one day her granny went out the road and I see this nice biscuit. I said, wow, this is a nice biscuit to carry home for her. But I bought the biscuit and walking through the track. I said, let me open this thing and read the labels. Hello? I went back full speed to tell the proprietor, listen, my granddaughter can't have it, so kindly take it back for me, please. So reading the labels is very important to us all. Thank you.